All right, we're live. Let's do the thing, man. I'll
Estamos
give you.
vivos.
You know what? I was gonna say that exact same thing.
Lo, lo ibas a decir, lo ibas a decir igualmente como yo, ¿verdad?
Yeah, exactly. Twice on Sundays.
Lo puedes repetir.
All right, all right. I've shared. Have you shared?
I'm doing it. Is very boom. Yes, I
All
did.
right, all right. I'm gonna go ahead and run this intro, and
I've now
let's
shared.
do it.
All right.
And voila.
Shut up and sit down.
Boom.
Boom it
Ta-da.
is.
That's right. Anyways, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Dope and Dharma. This is the Dharma Time edition, and he is the Dope Doctor, and I am the Dharma Guy. What's up, everybody?
That's right. That's right.
And for those of you who are watching us live here on, well, today it's Facebook Live, YouTube
Oh,
Live, and Twitch Live. So any of those, you can look up Dope and Dharma, and you can find us there. Feel free to comment and give
mhm.
us your thoughts. If you're listening to this, you're most likely listening to it on a different day through any of your podcasting platforms, whichever ones you so choose. However, if you want to join the discussion live, as always, you can, like I said, search up Dope and Dharma on those other platforms and comment.
Mhm.
Oy. And if you're watching live, we're a little bit late today. That's because, you know, in life, we all have our plights. And sometimes when you're friends with, the top 1% or the celebrities, you're on their schedule. So I was ready today at 1 o'clock. But, yours
I'm in
truly
the
over here, the Dope Doctor, because he's so famous and such a
I'm in the
celebrity,
army now. I'm in the army now.
he was
Look,
he was unable
look.
to do the 1 o'clock,
I
and we
can see
can't
it.
see anything because it's behind the mic. There you go. I don't know what that is. It looks like an apple with a white circle.
It's a Salvation Army pin. I'm in the army now.
Okay, yeah. So he's accepted a role in the Salvation Army board, I guess, and so that kept him from his talking duties here with us. Either way, we are here, and already they're commenting on uh, Facebook Live. My mother said she likes the green lights. Thank you very much. Marissa said that she also shared. For those of you who tune in late, at the very beginning, we're
That's
on
right.
live for a few seconds so we could share. And then she said,
Yeah.
"Go subscribe to the YouTube channel." I agree. Let me put that one up there. What a
Yeah. Please
great
do.
thought. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you, Marissa. And then Richard Coleman said, "Hey guys, I can't believe I missed your January 6th show." Yes, I can't believe you missed that one either. That was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Um, and then Marissa agreed with that. So, all right, you got anything you want to share before we get started on today's topic?
Did I tell you I was in the army now? I'm in the army
In the
now.
army now. That's actually the old movie with Pauly Shore. Anyways, what was that? The little thing he used to do. Anyways, oh wait a minute.
Weasel, the
What?
weasel.
Yeah, yeah. You're not lagging right now that
What?
much. Is the internet? Are
I'm
you
good.
are you hardwired today?
No, still not.
Oh, no boy, no, no boy, no. Anyways, all right.
But I am at
So
the studios. I'm in Sanford, so I'm at the
okay,
WPSN Surf Monkey Media Studios.
right on. Well,
Mhm.
today we're going to talk about trust and intent. Right? Like I put those together for a reason.
Okay.
Um, have you ever been the victim of or the perpetrator of a situation where somebody you knew, like a friend, family member, loved one, and something was done innocently, like either you or the other person just wasn't aware, or just an innocent mistake. You know, you zigged, and I thought you were going to zag, type of a situation. And one of the people involved, instead of saying, "No, that's understandable," they instead said, "No, no, no, you did that on purpose. Like you were trying to do this, or like they assumed that the other individual was purposely trying to harm them or be mean to them or whatever it was. Have you ever witnessed that or been a part of that on either side?
Oh
That
yes,
yeah.
that's a guarantee.
Well, we're both married, so the assumption there is yes on a consistent basis. But um,
My wife always knows exactly what I mean, even though I use completely different words. She's just good like that, brother. She can,
Yeah,
I can use these words over here, but she reads through those so perfectly, and she is always correct, and she knows
yeah.
exactly my intent and what I was trying to do, even when apparently I don't even know that that's what I was doing.
We're in the same boat there, brother. So that's what we're talking about today, right? We're talking about this concept, this idea of like we trust each other and we trust our loved ones. We claim we do, right? We trust our loved ones that we'll leave our children with them. We'll leave money with them. We trust that they'll perform whatever task that we ask them to do. And yet we don't seem to trust their intentions, right? We If they say or do something, like I'll give you some examples, right? We're just going to jump right into this today. We'll see where the
Okay.
discussion goes, I guess. But um, I was trying to think of some examples of my own life, things that I've seen that I was just like head scratcher moments, right? Um,
Okay.
so I'll give an example. As a dude, I don't know if this is a guy, I don't know, trait, if you will, but it's definitely
Hmm.
a trait that I have, and many of the men that I know, we share this trait in common. So I
Yeah.
don't know if it's a male trait or not. It's anecdotal, but I am a creature of habit. I am a routine individual. I
Right.
wake up, I pretty much have the exact same routine every morning. I have routines that I try to fit into because for me, it just makes life easier for me. I just try to have a
Right.
routine that kind of just go with the flow. And so, so part of my routine is not checking the laundry on a daily basis, right? The washer and the dryer.
Okay.
So there's been days, especially early on in the marriage, not so much now, but early on in the marriage, my wife would put stuff in the washer or the dryer. And then she would leave and go off to work or whatever. And when I would see her later on that day, she would come in and she would get mad at me. And she'd get mad. She's like, "Why didn't you take the stuff out of the washer or move it from the washer to the dryer?" And my answer was always, "I didn't know there was anything in there." Like,
Mm.
because for me personally, it's not part of my daily routine to look at said washer or dryer. You could literally take them and remove them from my house, and I wouldn't know until it's time for me to go do laundry. Like she's not the only one that does laundry; I do it as well. We have different,
Mm.
times and routines. Different needs. She needs laundry done at different times than I do. So basically, whoever, like when you're in need, you just go do it. That's kind of how we do it in our family. Um, so if I'm not in a situation where I say, "Hey, it's time to go wash some clothes," be it my kids, mine, or whatever, you could literally remove the washer and dryer, and I would never know that they're gone. Like I just wouldn't occur to me because I don't look in that area. I know for many people that sounds kind of weird, but for me, it's not. It's just not what I look at. But for whatever reason, my wife would always see this as me purposely not doing it, like I was leaving it for her or whatever it might be, as opposed to just giving me the benefit of the doubt and realizing my intention wasn't anything other than just straight up. I just didn't know. I didn't see it. And that's an
Right.
example, right? It's a trivial example, but I think our lives are full of these trivial examples, and sometimes they lead to bigger moments. But I think overall we have so many of those, and I wanted to talk about that today because what is that, right? I see that with my kids too. I've literally watched one of my kids accidentally bump into them. Like I've watched it happen. It was an accident, and then my other kid will completely go off and get mad and say that they did it on purpose. So, but they
Right.
did it. Like, why is that with our loved ones, our immediate assumption is typically you're out to purposely hurt me or get with me. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think first we need to address that Richard Coleman is still
Oh gosh,
processing
what did he?
through
I,
the
I didn't even
abuse that
see.
you gave him in the past. Yes.
Whatever,
Richard
man.
Coleman, you missed yesterday's show. I think we talked about you, Richard,
We did talk about
yesterday's show
last
on the
night.
Couch Live last night. Too bad you weren't on that show either. I know you missed Friday's show, which is on January 6th, that I'm sure he was interested in. But last night we mentioned you as well, trying to process through your abuse issues with Trinity. Trinity's still not taking responsibility for it, but he
I
got real
did
close to
not.
it last night. You want to watch last night's show? Go to the Couch Live, YouTube the Couch Live, and you can see the show that we
It's on
did,
Dope
and
and
he
Dharma
actually
too.
made amends to you, Richard.
I
That's
actually
right.
uploaded
Oh,
them this
Dope and
morning,
Dharma. Go to
so
Dope and Dharma.
it's on Dope and Dharma or the Couch Live.
Perfect. There you go.
Anyways, I digress.
So anyway, so past that, or I do. So yeah. I somehow trigger this in my wife a lot because I forget a
Same,
lot.
same.
So she'll say something, or at least she tells me she said something. I can't remember if she did or not, but so I'll use the words like, "Well, I forgot." And sometimes I do remember once she said, I go, "Oh man, yeah, I forgot." And then she go, "No, you didn't. You just didn't want to do it." It's like, well, no, that's not true. I mean, I actually did forget. But she'll focus on the fact that somehow I was malintent or I did it out of spite. But then she'll make
Right.
up a whole thing. Sometimes it'll be like, well, you did it because then you'll know I'm going to do it. And so you just leave it there because you know I'm going to pick up after you and I'm going to take it. And she'll go on and on and on and then get herself upset. And then be
Yep.
like, you do realize you just invented that whole thing, right? I told you I forgot. I fully intended on doing it. I just forgot. Um, that to me is just, two old people just getting so used to each other to like you just bickering. We became that old couple, rah, 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 you know what I mean? So to me, it's kind of funny and laughable. But it's not always funny and laughable, and not with everybody. So I'm glad
Yeah.
you brought this up because when it's different than when it's with your loved one. But when you start doing it outside of this, so when you start uh, thinking what that movie star meant or that television star or that news broadcaster or that politician or that neighbor or that person driving the car. I'll give you one of the ones that harm me the most personally. If I am driving my vehicle, I have learned to let you go. If you think you're that important and you think that your space is absolutely necessary, my space is necessary to you, look, I've learned to just, I'm going to let you just go, man, because I'm just not looking for a ticket and I'm not looking for the problem. I don't need the stress in my life. I'm just chilling. But then sometimes still people don't use their blinker and they just jump right in your bumper area. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you don't stay close up to the car next to you, like if you leave the appropriate amount of space between you and the car in front of you, some people take that as an opportunity. But when they jump in that without using their blinker and then kind of like don't go forward, I almost take it like, oh, you tried to kill me. I even say that sentence to my head. I say, oh, you trying to
Right.
kill me, and so they're not trying to kill me. But once I say that to myself, that changes the way I'm feeling about that individual. And so I'm just using that as a reference that if I put it in my head that you are trying to cause me malice and you're doing something wrong to me, then I no longer offer you any more leeway, any additional space or verbiage or look that you give me from that point forward. I'm in attack mode now. I'm no longer just
Yeah.
defense. I'm in attack because defense means you're doing this, but I don't just do this. I don't put my guard up. What I do is I'm a counter puncher. You know what I mean? There's a difference between
Yep.
putting up your guard and being a counter puncher. So I'm going to counter punch and I'm going to outmaneuver. And I use Aikido, meaning whatever force you're bringing me, I'm going to easily whoop, and then I'm going to use your own force or your own volatility or aggression towards you and allow you to just fall flat on your face. So that just turns into something different, whether it's on the road, which is very dangerous when that happens on the road,
Yeah.
in a work space scenario, it's just anywhere there's other human beings. Now, if we were all by ourselves and did this, who cares? Right? Whatever you want to
Yeah.
you want to play mental gymnastics with yourself and think, oh, I'm watching that deer over there. I think that deer is trying to kill me. That's different, right? Because who
Yeah.
cares at that point? But when you do it with other humans around that really, quite honestly, they could care less about me. They just probably didn't
Yeah.
even notice me. They probably just thought I'm going too slow and they're going to go faster and it's never going to be a bother. Whatever they thought, it's irrelevant. The point is that whenever I add a storyline to it that's attacking me, now I become the aggressor and I can put us in a problem, even though it started with their behavior. I'm fully responsible for what happens from that second forward. But I won't take responsibility for it. I'll still blame them. And then if my
Sure.
wife gets mad at me because I get mad, now I'm really mad because then I said, now you got her mad at me. So now
Yeah.
you got me in a discussion that I didn't want to be in because I'm like, why are you defending this dude? He's the one that did it. So now I'm really upset. So That's a day
Yeah,
in the
well,
life.
so two things. First off, I was looking away
Mhm.
while you were talking a little bit because I got an update on my phone. Apparently, there was a shooting in Castleberry, so thankfully you're not over there. Uh, 4 people
Well,
dead, murder
you mean the
suicide.
yeah.
One of them was a
Oh, that
child.
was this
So
morning.
yeah, I
That
just saw
was
that.
early this morning.
But anyway, second thing, this whole thing made me think of a quote that I heard a long time ago, and
Damn
it
guns.
was
I'm kidding.
exactly. It was Hanlon's razor, and it was basically never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity. In simpler
Mhm.
words, some bad things happen not because of people having bad intentions, but because they didn't think through it
Right.
properly. Um, that to me, I think is something to live by, right? Too often something will happen and we want to attribute it to malice, meaning this person intentionally was trying to hurt me, or this person was intentionally
Right.
trying to get at me or do something. When in all
Mhm.
actuality, the more simple and more most likely answer is the person just wasn't really paying attention. They didn't think it through. They were in their own head. They were worried about other things.
Mhm.
They didn't view it the
Right.
same way you did, and now you have created this narrative. Um,
Right.
but I think that that's what made me think of it. Actually, you asked me earlier, was last night on the couch when we were talking about it. I said that we were talking about last night. Does your worst moment define you? And so what I
Right.
was saying was, right now, the way I'm living my life, my intentions are pure. Like I know where my intentions are. I'm no longer coming from
Right.
greed and anger and fear and all this other stuff. And
Mhm.
so because of that, I feel confident that regardless of the conflict that's happening around me, I can feel good knowing, hey, I wasn't intending to do that. That doesn't
Right.
mean I won't apologize or address somebody's hurt feelings or whatever, but I don't take that with me because I know where I came from. And so I think that maybe if you're constantly questioning other people's motives, you might want to look inward and ask yourself, are your own motives clouded
Mm.
that way sometimes? Because I think that's what is it, transference, right? Like oftentimes we
Right.
feel like we're coming, that's what I would do. Like I would come from that. And so you automatically assume that the other person is also coming from that
Mhm.
perspective. And they very well may be, who knows? But we don't seem to give the benefit of the doubt anymore, right? We seem to immediately jump to that.
Mhm.
And it's a problem, as you said. If you're doing it on your own and you're talking to yourself, that's a different conversation.
Right.
But we don't seem to do it a lot like that. We seem to do it more so with our friends, our families, acquaintances, strangers. Like you said earlier, I remember there was a time in my life, every person who ever cut me off was doing it on purpose. Like
100%.
they
100%.
yeah, 100%. It couldn't be that they were just on their own world and didn't see
Right.
me or whatever. Mind you, I on the other hand have done that. I've got a big truck and there I have some blind spots.
Right.
So there have been times where I've thought the lane was clear. I moved over and I see somebody swerve and I'm immediately like, oh crap, like my bad. Like I
Yeah.
100% didn't see you. I apologize. But in their mind, I'm a prick who just did it on purpose. I
Right.
wasn't,
Right.
and so I think that it's interesting that we do that. I think that
Mhm.
that causes a lot of stress and struggle. And so the reason why I put on the show trust slash intent, right, is we say that we trust people. We say that we give it. Like we say, I talk more so with our friends and families, right? Because the person that you meet at the store, they don't typically have a bearing in your life, right? That's a one time interaction for most people. But in our own homes, and our loved ones, and our friends, and our family, and our coworkers, people that we see every day that we claim to trust, do you? Because if you do trust,
Mm.
then why are you not listening when they tell you I forgot or I didn't mean to do that or I didn't look at it that way? Um, because it causes a lot of trouble between you and them, right? Because it causes stress for you because now you're suffering because you're living with this very real idea in your head that hey,
Right.
maybe this person was being mean to me. Like, why would they do that to me?
Mhm.
And then you're creating stress on their end because they're thinking, dude, really? Like, I've known you for this long and you still think that I would do something like that? Like, because I will say it is a frustrating thing to be blamed for something that was never even on your radar, right?
Mm.
Because I've had that done before, where especially with my wife, whatever, and other friends, where they would say something, and I'm like, "What? Like, where would you even get that?" Like, it's almost insulting. Like, really? Did you just meet me? Like, why would you think that?
Right.
It's a very hurtful thing, right? So it doesn't really help either party, does it? Like, it doesn't help you because you're walking around thinking that this person's doing something to you. It doesn't
Right.
help them because they're thinking, well, how in the world could you think I've known you for 20 years, you know? Um, and so I think that we kind of need to address that. We need to look inward and say, do you really trust that person? And if so, uh, um, then your actions should show that, right? Like, because we see it all the time. As you said earlier, I think it happens a lot in relationships, right? Because there's this big V
Tons.
word. There's a big V word that nobody likes. Vulnerable, right?
Oh,
When you have a
oh,
when you
thank
have a
God. That's where you went. I don't
yeah, that
know.
is another V word we like, but no, vulnerability, right? That's something we hate. We don't like it. Vulnerability sucks, dude. It feels uncomfortable. It's scary. It's anxiety ridden, but it's necessary. And so being vulnerable with somebody, you do have this idea that like at any given moment, they're gonna use it against you. And so we like to be on
Right.
guard. So it's like well, I'm gonna point it out before you actually do it. I'm gonna hurt you before you hurt me. Um,
Mm.
and that's a really stressful way to live, man. Like I don't think it's possible to find inner peace and happiness while having that as your ongoing narrative, right? Do you agree with that?
Well, definitely agree with it. I think that it makes it very difficult in a relationship when trust is discussed anyway. I think that we all, I think we kind of say that a little bit too much, to be honest with you. We say, you don't have a relationship without trust, but yet, we argue a lot, right? Like as
Yeah,
humans, you just argue, and a lot of that has to do with distrust. Let me tell you what we all trust more than our partner. We trust our gut. We
yeah,
trust our instincts. We
yeah.
trust
And who do we
that
lie to more than
if I
anybody?
right, exactly. But what we think is, well, if I did that behavior, this is what I'd be thinking. So since you did that same behavior, this must be what you're thinking. And we make that an absolute. We make that an absolute truth in a lot of things, constantly projecting that whatever we do is exactly the reason other people do it. And that's not really
Yep,
so. I mean, look, the reason you may cook chicken today, Trinity, is not the same reason that everyone is cooking chicken today. There's other reasons. People are
sure.
cooking chicken, right? But you think, well, no, they must be cooking it for the exact same reasons. Now, even if you say, it's just because we got to eat. No, some people, they can cook and not even eat it. They're cooking to provide. Or some people, and I know I'm
Sure.
just using a silly example, but the point is that we constantly believe that when we see even with people that we care about, when we see them do a behavior that we've done or that they say words that we've said, that they must be doing it for the same reason that we must be thinking about. And I think that's where I know I've gotten in trouble with that in my own head. I know I've struggled with adding stories attached to things for a long time. And while you're sharing, I'm just thinking of all these times in my life where I've gotten myself in a mental gymnastics problem because I've added context that doesn't exist. There's no proof of the context that I'm
Oh yeah,
imagining in my mind, but I believe myself, and
of
until I
course.
can prove myself otherwise, I'm still just going to believe myself, and I think that's pretty normal.
Yeah, I mean that's why I think we can both, and if we're honest, we all can talk on this topic because we've all done
Hmm.
it and we've all received it, right?
Hmm.
And when we receive it, we all have the same response. Like, how could you? Like, this is ridiculous. You're off base. And yet, on the same side of that coin, will be the perpetrators, and we'll just
Well,
know that we're 100% right. Because I've had that same issue of, um, like I'll have a logical stream in my head of
mhm,
A leads to B leads to C, and while it makes
right,
100% sense to me, not so much to the other person. That's not how their
right,
brain works. That's not their
right,
stream of logic. Matter of fact, I happen with my wife constantly. My wife is a very artistic minded individual.
right,
And as logical as I am, she's as much emotional, right? And she has a completely different take on things. Matter of fact, you and I have a situation in common with her, where we were
mhm,
coming back from one of our NASCAR trips, and there was a gentleman we were doing this online kind of like video platform thing where you can
mhm,
do what we do essentially here and get fans and whatnot. And there's a gentleman
mhm.
in I think it was Jacksonville that wanted to meet us. We were interacting
Oh,
back and
yeah.
forth, and they wanted to meet us, and we were like, you know what, why not? Let's do it. So on the way back, we pulled off when you met with the individual, and it was an interesting interaction. They were nice, whatever, but it was just him and I both walked away feeling something was off about the interaction, something was weird, And within I'd say within minutes, him and I both had this narrative, like this lock solid narrative of what would happen. And we were 100% confident that this is exactly what went down. We're right. This is how we feel. And that's all there is
Yeah.
to it. And then the phone rang. It was my wife asking us where we're at. And I told her, and I explained to her what happened, as just a side conversation. And she had a completely opposite, 100% unrelated, 180-degree perspective that of what happened in that scenario. And when we thought about it, it was not only plausible, but it was actually more likely. Even though minutes before, him and I had 100%. No, this is what happened. No, this is that's nope. Wait a minute. And so that's an example of what we do all the time. My our stream of logic just isn't matched by everybody else, and I think that giving people the benefit of the doubt really does go a long way. Now, granted, I think that there's a difference between giving somebody the benefit of the doubt and giving trust versus setting up boundaries, right? Like I
Right.
think you can do both. We have to have boundaries in our lives, right? If people are hurting you, if you're in an unsafe situation, if you've given your vulnerabilities to somebody and they've hurt you, um, there's nothing wrong with being cautious moving forward and having checks and balances and accountability, things of that nature. Um,
Mhm.
that's not what I'm
Mhm.
talking about, right? I'm not talking about just blindly believing in whatever. If you're with somebody and that spouse has cheated on you 12 times, well, first of all, I'd ask why it made it to 12. Second of all, the 13th time, are you completely unreasonable in thinking that no, you're not unreasonable? Like that's a
Right.
boundary. Follow those types of things. Um, but that's not what I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about the daily kind of just interactions that we have that cause us so much internal
Right.
stress. These little narratives that we fill into our heads that lead to these blowups, that lead to this ongoing stress that we now have to come down from that didn't need to happen in the first place. That's what I'm talking about.
I put there's a big lesson that I had to learn within this, in being in a relationship, and that's the omission part. I didn't know that omission was such a big deal because in my head, I was omitting information sometimes to Dana because
Right.
I felt like I knew how she was going to respond to the situation. So I would omit certain
Sure.
details. Unfortunately, those details were always very similar over and over again, right? And I thought 100% that, look, I know how she's going to act. I know what she's going to think. So I don't want the stress. I don't want the problem. I'm going to omit that, purposeful.
Right.
And then she finds out. And then it turns from, oh, why didn't you tell me? Y- What I found you can never say is because I knew you were going to act exactly the way you're acting right now. You,
No, you can't
you,
say that.
yeah, you, for some reason, even though it was validated, like by the omission, she never accepted that as an answer. What she said is, no, no, this reaction is due to your omission. And I was like, well, that's not what my brain is saying. My
Right.
brain is telling me that you would have acted like this whether I would have told you or not. So that's what my brain is saying. And her brain was saying, oh no, I would have been cool and okay with it and understanding. I mean, I don't know why you would have done that in the first place. It makes no sense why a happily married man would ever do that.
Oh boy.
But the reason I'm acting like this is omission. I'm like, no, I really think I'm right, but I'm gonna let you go with this, and I'm gonna let you go ahead and be upset with it. At the end of the day, when you're innocent, which I always thought innocence mean if you just don't do things, you don't do things, and you don't say certain things, right? So whether it's
Right.
verbal, emotional, physical, all that, as long as you don't do those things, you're good. But in her head is no, you can't even like do something that looks like it, sounds like it, feels like it, and say, "Oh man, you're growing that list pretty long. I don't, I don't know how to
Right.
do this boyfriend thing." And then I turned into a husband, and then so now it's like, those rules get big. But I'm telling you, I had to
Yeah.
learn it real early on. So I decided early on, says, "Okay, I'm not going to omit anything. I'll just take the fight now," which is why way early on in your relationship, when you were joking, I don't know if you were joking or serious, and you asked me for advice, and I think I just said, just be 100% honest from get go. And what I mean by that is just take the fight. Take the fight now.
Yeah.
Whatever you think the fight is going to be, the argument's going to be, you take it right now because it's always safer and okay to take it now because later on, not only can they change the whole details, and because when Dana tries to fight about stuff from 20, 30 years ago, I'm like, whoa, this is really not fair because you have a memory and I don't. So you're assuming that it went the way you just said it, but I've proven in recent days that you kind of misinterpret things. So if you misinterpret it like now, that means long-term memory could be holding a lot of misinterpreted data. So
You think?
that's not fair to have those arguments. So I've learned to just not omit and say, and it's weird because I really like trashy. I don't want to say trashy, just like one of the things I like to do is just watch ridiculous reality TV. I love reality TV.
Sure.
And a lot because it shows our human behavior in its funniest form,
Yes.
and it really shows you the art of perspective. And I call it an art because I cannot imagine sometimes how someone gets one interpretation out of the same thing, but I'm like, wow, the fact that you drew that conclusion or thought from that. And then I think, wow, man, if there was a camera on me all the time, I wonder how many times I'd look at myself and go, oh my God, bro, I can't believe you just drew that perspective from that. Are you
Oh
not,
yeah.
are you blind? Are you not seeing? So I
Yep.
think there's lessons in reality TV as long as you allow it to be a lesson. But if you just watch it for judgmental sake, then you learn nothing from it. You're just validating your own thought process. But instead, I like to watch it and go like, wow, man, I've been in a situation where I really thought, that strongly about something. And this is how wrong I could have been. Because you see how people just
Yep.
don't explain themselves very well. They just, they could, like, because you saw the video, wow, they have more to the story. And then they sit there silently and just don't explain it right. And you're like, God, man, if you would just explain your situation. And I've been that person.
Yep.
So I no longer omit because I probably suck at explaining it later. Because when I'm explaining it, I probably sound guilty. And
Right.
so if you sound guilty, you are guilty. So it's better not to omit it from up and just give it. And can't you catch that trend? I don't know if you do that, but can't you catch that in other people when you're watching a movie or something like that, and they don't tell their partner something? You're like, oh, bro, you should just said something. Oh, you should
All
just
the
said it.
time. Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
You should just take it fight now. Like I think even in the speech when Dali got married, in my father's speech, I said, look, if you don't like the meatloaf, you better say it now, or else you're going to be eating that meatloaf for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
She's going to be thinking you love that meatloaf. I'm cooking his favorite food. And for 30 years, you've been struggling eating it. So just be honest from jump. Tell her the meatloaf sucks from day one. She'll get over it. You'll be good. Or maybe your ribs suck and she'll get over it, or you'll get over it. The point is you just got to be brutally honest from the beginning, or else you build it upon this kind of house. And it's not a good one.
Well, yeah. And the other thing that I find it interesting that you and I both had in common, and I don't see this a lot with people, is transparency. You and I are both very big on transparency. We're both very big on optics, right? Other words, like if a situation could go wrong or it could look off to somebody, we just won't participate. It's just
Right.
not worth it. There's been many a days where like somebody wanted to do like some sort of a friend I haven't seen in a long time. It's a female, and she's like, "Oh, hey, let's go grab lunch or something." Like, no, I'm good. Like, well, we can do it other ways, because what I don't want is the optics of me being out to lunch with some other
Right.
woman, and my wife hears
Right.
about it through a friend, and then it looks shady.
Right.
And many people
Right.
in my life said that that's ridiculous. Well, maybe it is for you, but I've never had those fights. Why? Because my wife knows that's just how I am, and she doesn't have to worry about it. So if that situation ever does occur in some sort of a way, my wife thinks nothing of it, because she just knows it must have been, like a happenstance or some oddball thing, because she knows my viewpoints on that, because I've been very transparent for many, many years now. So for me, it's just the way, because I respect her as well. Because the last thing I want either is people out there looking at me thinking I'm running around on my wife or something like that. That's not. A, I don't want to portray myself that way, and B, I don't want to have other people
Right.
disrespecting her that way. And so
I had to
I
learn
think
that
that's
lesson very differently.
I'm sure. But you and I share it, right? Because we even had a mutual friend, which I will not name, but we were out somewhere, and I won't even name places because they'll know who I'm talking about. But we had a situation where there was a person that was with us, that was behaving some kind of way, and you and I made a pact a long time ago between the two of us that if some things ever look like they're getting out of hand, we're going to call each other on it and say something, because we both know what our intentions are. So we know if it's going
Right.
that way, it's not an intentional thing. And so
Right.
there was a person that was with us, and they were saying and doing some things that him and I both were like, that feels a little off. Like, that's not really the way I would
Yep.
conduct myself. And that person
Yeah.
doesn't hang out with us anymore because that's just not who we're trying to, hang around. But him and I both
Right.
immediately saw that behavior and immediately knew, like, nah, that's just not going to happen. Matter of fact, there was another time where there was somebody who was trying to come into our circle, and there was they were quite enthusiastic with you, and I made a comment one time, and then you couldn't unsee it from that point forward. You remember? I'm not gonna. You know who I'm talking about. It was
Disconnected.
a yeah, yeah,
Disconnected. Yeah.
exactly. But anyways, that just
Right. No, I
the
mean
point
those
of
things are
bringing those.
important.
Yeah, well, the point of bringing those things up, right, is
Yeah.
is that's an example of us trying to build that trust with our significant
Right.
others, right? In other words, it's
Right.
us trying to behave in a way that doesn't ever make them question their trust in us or our
Right.
intentions. So it goes both ways, right? Like, so it's giving that trust to people, but it's also behaving in a way that you garner that trust from other people as well,
Right.
right? And
Right.
but at the same token, like you said earlier, I've also been on the other end of things where I've
Right.
had to, like, put my foot in my mouth. I've had times where I've thought something, and then I get proven later on that no, you completely misread that one. And so that's
Right.
why I try, and some days I'm more skillful than others, but whenever a situation occurs, I try my best, and that's where the whole react versus respond thing comes into play. But I try to make sure that my response, is one of hey, let me wait and listen. Let me get all the facts first, because I don't know what went down here. I try not to come to conclusions right away because you never really know. Because as he pointed out earlier,
Mhm.
some people aren't good at explaining themselves. Sometimes weird things just do happen, right? Sometimes the unthinkable actually happens, right? It sounds unplausible. It
Yeah.
doesn't sound plausible. It sounds crazy. Those things do
Mhm.
happen, and so you have to give a little
Right.
bit of room for error. The one thing that, like, when early on in my wife's relationship with me, her experience prior to me was different, and so there was times where she would say stuff, and part of what would get me frustrated, and I would say it was like, look, you didn't even leave room for error. Like, you thought something and you ran with it as if that was 100, like it couldn't be possible that I felt differently. And that was what frustrated me. It didn't frustrate me that you were wrong. It didn't frustrate me that you did what you did or you said what you said. It was the fact that you didn't even leave a room for error. You didn't leave like a little margin there of, hey, you know what, maybe I'm misreading this. And obviously, as we've been together over the years, we both have gotten better at that. But that's kind of my
Yeah.
point, right? Is we have to start giving a little bit of leeway here. Not everybody is out to get you all the time. Not everybody is purposely doing things to you. Not everybody is like, you're not on the forefront of everybody's mind when they do what they do, right? As they're
Right.
going through the day, gosh, we did a show back in the day called Masturbation, right? And I had clients when I was doing more fitness stuff. I had a bunch of clients that refused to go to the gym. They did not want to go to the gym, and part of the reasoning was they didn't want to go to the gym and be made fun of or to be criticized or ridiculed or whatever. And I explained to them, as somebody who would go to the gym constantly, whatever, and I knew a lot of those people, they don't care about you.
Yeah.
You are not on their mind. They're at the gym caring about their own physique, their
Right.
own
Right.
insecurities, their own pimple on their forehead, their own, like, shirt that fits too tight or whatever it might be. They're not worried about you. And I think that's hard for us to comprehend because we think that everybody sees our insecurities and stuff. And so we
Yeah.
think that they're immediately out to get us. And so when they say something, if we're already thinking that, like, if I'm just if I'm am insecure about something on my body and I have a shirt on, and I think that everybody sees it and everybody's gonna make fun of it, all it takes is for somebody to come up and say, "Hey, that's a really nice shirt." My immediate thought is gonna be, "Oh, are they making fun of me?" And that's the thing, is if you already have that in your head, you're gonna see it everywhere. And
Right.
and that's part of the problem. And that's why we do have to trust. We have
Right.
to trust that the people that we have in our lives, like, if somebody you have in your life that you love and care about, they're there for a reason, aren't they? Like, you love and
Right.
care about them. So they've already established themselves as somebody worthy to be in your presence. So don't completely throw that away because of your insecurities. Don't completely throw that away because the story that you've worked out in your head. Try to remember why you have that person in your life in the first
Right.
place. And have they established themselves to be that kind of a person? Or are you maybe, just maybe, misreading that situation? Give them the benefit of the doubt, right? I see a
You
lot of
know,
comments.
Right. I also, we don't see what you're insecure about, but we do see your insecurity. So if you're confident, then I ignore the things that I think you should be insecure about, even when I'm being judgmental. I may see something that if I had that exact same thing, uh, I would be insecure about it. I could see what I would be insecure about you, but you're not showing me that. So I kind of like that and admire that. The fact that you're able to be confident in something that I would find to be insecure about. That's a normal human condition, right?
Right.
So, but if you are insecure about something, then your insecurity comes off, and I can see that. And then my eyes, I can't help it but notice what it must be. And I'm going to do linkages to what I think you might be insecure about. Now, I may be wrong, but the fact is, I am catching the vibe of insecurity, and therefore I'm attaching what I can visually see of what I would be insecure about, and then I make an assumption based on that. Now, when I say all this, I'm not saying I, so that I could be some jerky person. What I'm saying, that's a normal human condition. That's what we do. Our brain naturally judges. It's for us not to base further detail into that judgment, or not to proceed with that judgment, or to calm it down, or to allow it to just simmer away. But our brain naturally judges situations, and that's not the bad thing. That's not the negative thing. What the negative thing from that point is that, am I going to treat you differently based on my judgment, or am I going to further listen to you, watch you, give you the benefit of the doubt, engage with you, and then reassess it. That's what's more important, to just reassess. But you got to trust your instincts a little bit. You got to trust your judgment a little bit. That keeps you safe. You know what I mean? It's like
Of course.
when you watch a scary movie, right? It's you could have and I'm gonna go to racial things to make it kind of
Oh
simple,
boy.
right? So yeah, because we all joke about these things. These are like what do you call it? Racial profiles, right? So
Oh
like
boy. The
every
views
time
and
we watch
opinions
a scary
expressed by.
movie in my house, absolutely. Well, because in my house we have a white girl, and then you have me being the Latino, right? So my kids love making these jokes. But whenever there's like a scary situation, it's the white character that always just like, I wonder what that noise is over there, and they kind of go towards the noise, right? And we always joke how, man, if that was a black person, that person be running, and if it was a Spanish person, that Spanish people just ignore that it even happened. Like, did you hear that? No, I didn't hear anything. So we joke in my household that the Latinos ignore anything that happened. It's like, nope, didn't happen, didn't exist. My mother will deny, right? But
Right.
Dana, on the other hand, is like, well, what is that? Hey, Louis, go look, go check that out, or go get involved. And I'm like, no, what the hell am I gonna go check for? Why? Well, who cares what it is? Maybe it's a cat. Maybe it's a raccoon. But why am I going into the dark woods to find out what it is? It makes no damn sense, right? So the point is that we all have these things in our head, but it's what you do with it. Are you going to be somebody who says, hell no, no way, don't engage? Are you going to be a person that ignores that it happened? Or are you going to be a person that further investigates? Well, really, you should be a kind of all three. You should be a little bit
Right.
of all three. And in certain moments, you have to behave like one of them, and not let one over dominate. Because if one part of you over dominates, then you're never allowing for it to possibly be something different than what you fear it to be. And basically, a lot of our responses are based on fear. We fear that we're gonna be made of a fool. We fear that they may be trying to get over on us. We fear that they're trying to hurt us, and so we're responding to that fear and our personal judgment, rather than just listening and asking the question. And when I say asking the question, I don't mean look at them and go, "You trying to make a fool out of me, man?" No, just ask. Like, I don't understand.
You could do that though.
Where are we trying to go here? What are we trying to do?
Yeah.
I try to
What's
stay real calm, and I just look at Dana. I go, baby, what are we trying to do here? What are we going to go with this? And it's because I just want you to understand it. I go, all right. Well, that's impossible, right? I'm not going to see it the way you said it, but I love you, and I just want to move forward. So what do we do? You know what I mean? And when you stay calm like that, it's much better. At least when I stay calm like that, it's much better. But if I start to, like, seriously, why are you acting like this? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? You want me to? And if I get like that, it goes nowhere.
what's going to escalate? Well, no, but I've learned that as well. Uh, um, sometimes those situations, be it with a loved one or a friend or whatever, you'd be amazed on how quickly you can de-escalate a situation by just saying what you're thinking, right? And what I mean by that, and I don't mean the crazy stuff. I'm just meaning like,
Mhm.
there's been times where my wife will say something, right? She'll say something to me and I'll interpret it some kind of way. And if I just
Okay.
ran with that interpretation, I think things are about to get out of hand because the way I interpreted it was like fighting words. Like that was like, whoa, really? But instead of me just running with it, I'll actually say, like, hey, is that what you're trying to say? Like, I'll ask,
Yeah.
like, hey, this is
Yeah.
this is what I thought. This is what I heard. Let me clarify. And to give her an
Yep.
opportunity to say, yep, that's exactly what I meant, or give her the opportunity to say, no, why would
Yeah.
you? No, I didn't think that. Um,
Mhm.
you'd be
And that's what it's called,
surprised.
clarifying. That's what it's called,
Yeah,
clarifying.
yeah, you would
No.
be shocked at how many of those times those situations occur that you might even think that you're clarified and you're really not because you're trying to clarify in a roundabout way. No, just flat out say, hey, this is what I heard.
Right.
Is that right?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
you'd be shocked on how many fights in your life that could
Right.
stop. How many
Right.
relationships you have in your life that
Right.
can make better by just simply parroting back basically what the person said. Say, hey, if I'm hearing you correctly, this is what you're saying, and give them the opportunity to agree or disagree. Um,
Mhm.
because instead, what you do is if you respond or react to what it is you thought you heard, and it is wrong, that situation is going to get way out of hand somehow, some way.
Absolutely.
It might not be volatile, but you're going to hurt some feelings and you're going to
Mhm.
disconnect in ways that you didn't want to.
Mhm.
Because if the other person is thinking that, hey, wow, I can't believe they did that, they're going to pull back from you a little bit. They're going to disconnect a little bit. And then you're going to feel that disconnection. And then you're either going to use that to confirm or validate what you thought ahead of time, or
Right.
you're gonna think something else is wrong. And it literally all stemmed because you couldn't just say, hey, is this what you meant?
Right.
Like, it sounds so simple because it is. It's just not easy, right? Because even in that situation, you're opening yourself up for vulnerability. You're opening yourself up to say, I care that this is what
Mhm.
you may or may not mean,
Right.
and giving them the opportunity to confirm it, right? And you might
Mhm.
be afraid of doing that. So it's safer just assume that that's what they meant as opposed to having it
Right.
confirmed. But no, because most likely they don't think that way. I'm gonna be honest with you. If you're in a relationship like that and you chose some, we have a tendency of taking things to the most negative, like worst possible scenarios that probably for the most part was never on that other person's mind.
Right.
They might have just been having a bad day. They dropped their coffee and who knows,
Right.
something stupid or silly. There's been so many days where my wife would come home back in the day that either like within seconds of us seeing one another, either one of us would think the other one had a horrible day. I'm
Right.
within seconds, my wife would walk in the door and be like, "Oh, did you have a bad day?" In my mind, I'm like, "Dude, you've seen me for like 12 seconds. Like, how could you possibly make that assessment?" Or
Mhm.
vice versa. She comes walking in, and I'm thinking, "Oh gosh, does she have a bad day today or something?" And we're so off. Like I was just in tune watching something. I was just so focused on it that when she walked in, I was like, "What?" Like it took me a second to assimilate. Or maybe she was just on the phone when she came in and what bottom line is there's so many scenarios where our assumptions are so wrong and so off
Right.
that we don't leave room for that area and it causes so much stuff and it's because of our inability to just trust the benefit of the doubt,
Right.
man.
Right. Well, I think that because we all speak differently, like you hear
Yeah.
about love languages and stuff like that. We really speak differently. Um, and arguing is one of those things that no matter how many years you do it, you just you don't get better at it. You think you do, but you don't. You fall in the same rut of the argument that you always fall into. It's like,
Right.
I've literally told myself, all right, so we've had this exact same discussion many times. You would think I would have learned better techniques out of this discussion, but no, because my emotions are still attached the exact same way to that discussion, and I'm a little
Yeah.
frustrated that we're actually having it again. I'm thinking, huh. So when a comment gets made, again, I'm just like, wait a minute, I thought I already disproved that. Why are we back to square one? So here's where I'll go with that. What I've learned is the calmer and the more loving I come across. And I'm just going to say loving and calm. And I really have to make sure that I'm on my game with that. But if I do, Dana always comes around and apologizes and gives me some reason, like it's her blood sugar, whatever. Like she'll come up with
Message.
something, right? Yeah. And then I'll sometimes screw it up, Trinity. Instead of just accepting the W, I go, yeah, baby, but God, when you did it, And it doesn't matter what comes out of my mouth after that. What I've learned is accept the W.
Yes.
So here's the message for her is, or the message for me is, as soon as she apologizes and wants a hug or kiss, say it's okay, babe.
Drop it.
Give it a kiss, hug her, and that's it. Don't talk about it again. Don't even mention it. Don't try to further prove any point. W is done. The
Yes.
lesson for her, because sometimes she does it. Like I'm a guy of actions instead of the words. Like I may not come and say sorry and stuff like that. It's just not. I'm a actions oriented guy. I'll be like, hey babe, you want to go to dinner or something like that, or I reward that way. Like I'll spend time with you. I'll do a honeydew that I know that you've been wanting me to do. Whatever. I'll do something physically, right?
Right.
And instead of her just catching it, she'll say, "Oh, what about this? What about this? What about this?" And it's like,
Ugh.
wow, you just saw me like do something that I normally would not do when I'm frustrated. But the fact that now you didn't accept that and you're still not satisfied, then why the hell am I doing this? If you're still not going to be satisfied, well, then I might as well just go sit down or lay down. You know what I'm saying? So, in other words,
Sure.
both sides need to learn how to accept the W, and they both need to learn
Yes.
how to accept the white flag. Know what your partner's white flag is,
Yeah.
and then Staizito, like my Italian teacher used to teach me back in high school. Staizito, shut the hell up.
Yeah. And Michelle said, in my opinion, in my honest opinion, the head of the household sets the tone. I don't know if I would agree with that, only because I don't think there is a head of the
Why?
household. I think that we think they're head
Are
of the
you out of your
household,
mind?
but there is no
Are
head of
you
the
out of your
household.
mind? Yes, there
There
is.
is no head.
Disagree. Disagree.
Yeah, I would not say that. I think that we as men think that we're the head of the household, but at the end of the day, it's really the women.
I didn't say we meant no. Wait a minute. Time out.
Exactly.
You assumed I thought me? No. Dana is the head of the household.
Yeah.
The mood is 100% generated more by her than anyone else in the house. If Dana's happy, everybody's happy. If Dana's not happy,
Yeah.
nobody's happy. I can prove it
Yep.
because when I'm unhappy, they could just laugh me away. Dad, you're just being silly. It's like,
It's funny.
you know what I mean? But if Dana's unhappy, she'll follow you to there's no escape, bro. I got a big house. I got multiple floors. There is no escape
Yeah.
for that. There's no room. I feel like Johnny Depp. I'm going to use that Johnny Depp against her. I'll be like, I think I went to like 27 rooms. I locked myself in 7 bathrooms, and she just kept coming. I knew what you were talking about, Johnny. Johnny, seriously, I've been behind 50 different doors. It
Yeah.
don't matter, bro. Dana is a locksmith, bro. You can't lock a door in my
Yeah.
house. Dana knows how to get in every house. I think Dana would have been a great thief because she popped, and it doesn't take her a long time. Like early in our relationship, I used to know when she's coming in. I could hear her like messing with the lock. No, now Dana pops that shit up so fast, like pop. She unlock. It's like
Like a ninja.
girl, you are dude. She is a locksmith ninja. So you can't
That's
lock a
awesome.
door and keep her out ever.
Yes, I don't know. I don't agree with the head of the household situation. I think that because I think both, like, same thing. My wife definitely dictates the tone of the house. But at the same token, I can too. Like if I'm not in a good mood, trust me, nobody's having a good day today. So I think that as far as the tone is concerned, I think that especially in a relationship of that magnitude, like marriage or whatever, you're so in tune with one another's vibe and energy. It's infectious if you allow it to be. And I don't know of anybody that's so skillful that they never let the other one affect their energy as well. But regardless, I think that I think in general, if we're going to have people in our lives that we would say that we trust, if we're going to have people in our inner circle, then we kind of have to treat them that way. We kind of have to remember why they're in there. And we have to remember that sometimes our perception is off a little bit. Sometimes we misread situations. And that's okay. Like there's nothing wrong with misreading a situation. What's wrong is when you misread it and you run with it. Or the person's telling you, hey, you misread that. And you're not believing them and you're just running with it. That's when the problem starts to happen. So I think that um,
Yeah.
my final thoughts on this, because then we're running out of time. And I'm gonna let you close the show today.
Are we
By the
really?
way, why not?
Are we dying? Is that why we're running out of time? We could talk as long as we want to.
Do you have any more? Yeah, I mean, we could talk all day long. Our
No,
wives don't watch this, so we
no.
can make this a marriage that. No, no. I just think that
No, because she's
those would
got a
be.
list for me, bro. I've been no, so Trinity. So I've been
Mine
doing
doesn't have a
like
list
these.
today, though.
I've been doing these little things, right? Um, because in one of the shows that we watch, it was this guy was like a real clean freak, right? So like he came home. I think it was that 90-day fiance or something. Is that it?
Right.
And
Well,
what I've learned though is if you're a man, and I am, I don't
is
know
that how
why
you
you just don't.
identify?
Yeah, that's how I identify today. I should want to. And look, if you're Muslim, don't get mad at me. I just feel like if I'm a man, you should want to be Muslim. I kind of like the way they're like, well, that's what the way it is. And it's like, man, it's like, wow, I can't do that about anything. I can't say that because I'm Mexican. You have to listen to me. I mean, but man, so I'm watching this thing. This Muslim guy is like real neat, real clean. And then like she had like cleaned her feet or something, made some wet, like there was water, and he was like, what's going on in here? He stays real calm. I love the way he's calm, man. That why is it all wet? And she immediately starts drying it up. And I'm thinking, I looked at my kitchen. I go, man, Dana always says, why do I leave the cans here? And I say, because they disappear from there. It's like a disappearing counter where I put it there and it's like she cleans it by the morning. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make an extra effort. I'm gonna do a lot better in this kitchen, because I do put plates here. My kids are learning from me. Like my Zoe, she put her plate there, and then so now it was different when it was just me home, but now Zoe's home from college, and that's a lot of plates, and that's not cool for Dana, right?
Right.
So I wake up in the morning, and I start cleaning. I clean all the plates, and I did all this, and I really hate when it gets dirty again. Now I see what Dana's saying. As soon as you clean it, like you leave for a little bit, and then like you come
Yes.
back and it's like, what the hell, man? I just cleaned this.
Yes.
I felt hurt, right? So anyway, the point is that I like doing it. But then it was like, oh, can you do this? I'm like, all right, I'll do that. What do you need fixed? Oh, I need the drill for this. Can you drill this? Oh, okay, I'll do it. So I drill. And by the way, I bought this, and I'm seeing all the little things that she's bought that she didn't tell me she bought. And I'm like, where'd this come from? Oh, I've had it a long time. Okay.
No,
So you want me
no.
to hang this up?
I've
Yeah.
had it a
Oh,
long
and can you
time
do this?
thing.
And can you cut this
Yeah.
piece of wood? Bro, I'm telling you, I did like 6 or 7 things. And I'm thinking, man, there's a big reward coming. And it was like, but you didn't do that. At the end, I was like, but you didn't do this and this. I was like, what you talking about, Willis? I mean, I just did all this stuff. So then the next day, so I guess what I'm saying, Trinity, in a very long way, is that there's still some things that I do want to do because I want to see just how far this goes. I'm very curious. I'm curious to see how many of these honeydew lists can I do before she realizes, damn, this dude's doing a lot of things that I thought he would not do. So I just want to see how far it goes. I'm very curious.
Good luck.
Now. I mean,
I wish you luck on your journey.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm afraid. Here's what I.
It's a bottomless pit.
Here's what I think. This is where I am projecting what I think she's thinking. Well, because she left the house. I know that she's gone. We can follow each other's path, right? So she's out. I think she went back to a Home Depot or Lowe's, and she's doing more honeydews because as I'm doing them, I think it inspires. I really think she's inspired.
What else can I get
more.
her to do?
I can go on my email. I don't even open the Amazon email. I just see Amazon,
Awesome.
Amazon. And I'm thinking, all right, so what she did is says, okay, well, since he didn't yell about this and he didn't get upset about this and he's doing it, it's perfect time to just do this and this and this and this and this.
No, you struck a chord with the whole I've had it. That's my wife's favorite. My wife thinks that I'm like, I don't pay attention because she'll have something like, oh, I've had this for a while. It's like, no, you haven't. That has not been there.
Right.
And Michelle asked a question that I want to address. She said, what is a man? I got a very simple answer to that. An adult human male. There you go. That's an adult human male.
That's funny.
And that's an inside
timely.
joke for those know.
Yeah.
But anyways, no, I feel you on that one as well.
We would show you, but Trinity has been canceled a lot lately. We would show you what a man is, but apparently we're not able to go into detail. Because if we can't show our children working, we definitely can't show other things.
It's all right. I'm about to get kicked off TikTok anyways, man. So TikTok hates my children.
This Friday, man, we're going to talk about it Friday. Oh, we're going to talk about it Friday.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Friday show,
anyway,
we got to talk about it. Trinity's canceled again. Canceled again
yeah, constantly getting canceled.
for showing his kids working.
Yeah, they apparently
You're a
they need
labor
my
camp.
kids.
You're an abuser. I think you know what it
I'm
is,
a
Trinity?
groomer and an abuser.
The problem is that you just might be. We might be wrong, Trinity. You might be like.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to look at all sides, right? All angles.
Yeah, apparently I am.
According to the people in Simi Valley, you are
Yeah.
grooming these kids. You're abusive to these kids. And damn it, Trinity, I mean, we're going to have to call law enforcement. I'm serious. I'm going to have to get
Apparently
you
they already
investigated
did
just
from
to
the last
just
one.
to
They apparently
be
already. I'm on a
sure.
list.
Mhm.
I'm on a list.
Yeah.
Anyways, you got any the final words on trust and intent before we head on out of here?
Yeah, I trust that Trinity is the man that he says he is, and I trust that he's not abusing his kids like TikTok says he is. I know his intent
Yeah.
is to make them respect and understand what good hard work is and the value of a dollar. And his intent is not to harm his kids and use his kids as child labor. It's to teach them something. So that's my final words on that.
Yeah, and I guess tune in Friday. We'll talk more about that. But yeah, I guess well, first and foremost, thank you everybody for tuning in and watching. For those of you who are watching live and commenting on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, or Twitch Live, we appreciate that. If you want to join the discussions in the future, you just look up Dope and Dharma. You'll find us there. He is on social media as The Dope Doctor, and I am at The Dharma Guy. Yeah, I guess my final thoughts on intent and trust is just, there's a fine line between, setting up boundaries and believing somebody. I think my mom told me earlier. She said it to me many times as a kid, and I don't think she invented it, but I think it's been out there for a long time. And that is, you trust somebody until they give you a reason not to. It's okay to give somebody the benefit of the doubt. It's okay to trust somebody. It's okay to realize that narrative and that story that you played out in your head might not necessarily be factual. Um, that's your interpretation of what happened, but give the other person an opportunity to clarify that. Don't just take it and run with it. If you think that what they said, if you think there's an ulterior motive, if you think there was something in between the lines, if you think there was something actually meant by the words, don't just assume. Actually ask and say, hey, this is what I'm hearing. Am I right on that? Give them the opportunity to confirm or deny. And I think a tremendous amount of your discord and stress would kind of be reduced by just doing that simple little bit of homework. But I think that's all I got for today. You guys, as always, been fantastic. Let me find the outro here. That's all I got, man. So make sure you guys tune in on Friday. Apparently, we're going to talk about me apparently being a horrible person and getting kicked off of TikTok. So there's that. Anyways, that's all I got. Now that you know better, do better. Peace.